So I was there the first week that we did it. Okay. So the next week, um, it was Wednesday. Well, I went down, got them set up.
Yeah.
I went to work, uh, worked almost a full day, got fired at the end of the day. Got fired.
Hey, everybody, listen. Welcome to Social Remedy TV. You already know it's your boy Shalandon, once again with another episode where this is your source of inspiration, information, and healing. Not only that, we hate the gatekeep. We have absolutely zero tolerance for any gatekeeping. Listen, I have a wonderful episode for you this week. This week, we're with my good friend, James Jones, Chef James Jones, at his place eatery here in Indianapolis. If you're ever in the Indianapolis area, you got to make sure that you get down here. And I'm telling you, the food is wonderful. It's not just because I'm telling you this, it's because I had already eaten some of his food. It is great. I'm telling you, come check us out. He has two new locations. Well, not two new locations, right? He has one location on 30th. What is it?
30th and Shaylin.
30th and Shaylin,
Yep.
and then right here off of 86th Street, 86th Street, West 86th Street. Listen, here in Indianapolis. So I want to get right into this. Man. And I know we have a lot of people that's been watching, the podcast, and I appreciate everybody that's been supporting. We had a great time in Baltimore. Please, like I said, like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Really, let's talk about this episode. And this episode is going to be about entrepreneurship, getting started from ground zero to where we are now, and owning these two restaurants. This is not a franchise, but it can be.
It's possible.
See, anything's possible. But my friend James right here, man, how long have you been cooking?
Man, let's see. I've been cooking since I was 20, maybe 27 years old. Yep, something like that. Yep.
Man, what, are you 28 now?
Look, you couldn't pay me to go back to 28. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't pay me to go back there.
That's wrong with it, man. That's wrong with it. So yeah, you getting into cooking, right, since you were 27. And I know we spoke a little bit about this off the air, whatnot, but I do want to talk about, where did everything get started? How did it get started?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Tell us how that.
All right. So again, my friends are still mad at me because I didn't cook in college.
Yeah.
At all. I literally didn't start cooking until I was around 27 years old.
Yeah.
Just went in the kitchen, started cooking.
Uh-huh.
Really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And growing up, all of my family cooked. My mom cooked. All of my aunts and uncles.
Right.
Everyone cooked. So I think you just kind of pick things up just almost naturally, just from seeing it being done all the time. So when I got in the kitchen, it wasn't difficult. It was almost just like I was just picking things up, and I really enjoyed it. So my mom had a small catering business, and I would help her with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she got a little tired of doing it, so I started doing it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I still worked at a corporate job. And so I did that for years as kind of just a side job, side hustle that I had, catering. And so then I decided to go to culinary school. And once I went to culinary school, as I was telling you, went to culinary school, and the very first class that I had, the chef in that class, he was like, "Hey, every single class that you have, you're going to have a project.
Mm-hmm.
And if you pick one idea and you stick with that idea through all of your coursework, by the time you're finished, you'll have almost a completed business plan." And so our assignment for that day was to go and figure out what that idea was that we wanted to work on. And before then, I had I'd never thought about really owning a restaurant. I had a catering business. I went to culinary school really it was the height of like Emeril Lagasse and Food Network and all of that.
Yeah.
And I just went because it seemed exciting. I wanted to learn. So from that, I literally just started, came up with this idea to do a upscale soul food restaurant.
Okay.
So that idea, I kind of built that all the way through culinary school. And once I finished, I had almost a completed business plan.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, when I got out of culinary school, it just so happens because I was working in corporate and I was working in sales, I was able to get His Place Eatery, and we started it in
Man.
2009.
Now listen to this. Listen to this. Now this is interesting because you got your start from school,
Yeah, from school.
right?
Yeah,
From school when I'm talking about that guidance of saying, hey, here, this is how you can start your business
yeah,
plan, right? This is wild because around that time of day or in that era, right? People were teaching you to just go to school to get a
yeah.
job.
School, get a job.
It wasn't go to school to own
Yeah,
or go to
exactly.
school to
Yeah,
lead, right?
yeah,
And I think that was amazing from that professor, whoever the
yeah,
professor was,
yeah.
to say, hey, this is something that you can actually succeed in if
Right. Yeah,
you have a step and you'll be able to not say just control your time, but it'll give you some sense of freedom
right,
and you're actually owning a piece of the American dream,
right.
right? Not
Exactly.
just going to work.
Yeah,
This is something
yeah,
that's your passion.
yeah.
And so that's what I thought was funny because during that time you didn't hear that.
No,
You
no,
didn't hear
no. It
that.
was it was all about go to school. When I first went to college out of high school, that's you go to college to get a job.
Right, right.
That's what the goal was. I've always had sort of an entrepreneurial spirit.
Hmm.
I remember I remember back when I was in high school. I remember seeing Carlton Sheets commercials
Yeah,
back when that's
yeah,
how old I am.
yeah, yeah.
Carlton Sheets commercials doing real estate, and I remember thinking, man, he's been doing these commercials for a long time. So there's something about that has to be true.
Right. Hmm.
Something about what he's doing has to be true. And so I first started investing in real estate when I was young. When I was in my 20s, my early 20s, I was investing in real estate.
Yeah, man.
So I've always sort of had that knack.
Oh, no, and
And
two, don't let that slide either. Investing in real estate right now, and I'm talking about as a young person.
yeah, yeah.
Um, could you speak to the young people and let them know that it's possible
Oh,
now?
it's possible.
It's
It's
possible
possible.
now.
The thing
Uh,
that the one thing that I've learned is that number one, anything is possible,
right.
but also the importance of speaking things into existence.
Okay.
Um, I have
Talk my language
I
now.
have friends that tell me to this day how I spoke, like even the restaurant, I spoke it into existence, and I don't even remember the conversation.
Right.
But because I'm a firm believer in speaking things into existence, and I'm a firm believer in there are no missteps. A lot of people want to, well, this was a mistake to do this, and this was a mistake. There are no missteps because if you believe that God ordered your path,
Right.
then even if it leads you to where you don't think you want to go or where you don't want to go,
Right.
if you understand enough to use everything that you learn
Hmm.
wherever you are, as opposed to having regrets and things like that. So
Right.
I can say that from owning real estate to working in radio,
Hmm.
to all the things that I've done, owning a catering business. I worked when I was younger, I worked at Riverside Recreation Center.
Yeah.
I was a cashier. I started as a cashier as a pool, and then I was like a rec leader. All of those things, I use something from all of those things to this day.
Wow.
And without those things, then I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's important that you realize that there's something to be learned everywhere you're sent.
Hmm.
Because again, if you believe that, your steps are ordered and that, you know, then there has to be something there that you have to gather while you're there.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
so therefore, why not use those things and understand that, try to figure out what it is that I'm supposed to get from this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that creates the layering that you need in order to move on to the next level and to
I think that's very important,
yeah,
man. I really think it's very important. And while you're doing those things, it's very important to understand who you are
absolutely,
and really what you want to
absolutely,
do because I think the ground gets shaky.
really quickly,
Yeah,
really
real,
quickly.
real, real, man. I'm
Yeah,
telling you, and when it's dealing with your identity,
yep,
you're constantly, if you really don't know who you are, you're
yep.
constantly trying to figure it out.
Trying to
Like,
please everybody.
trying to please
Yeah,
everybody. What do I do here? You know
yeah,
what? I'm gonna go ahead and try this,
yeah,
and I'm gonna try that, which is okay in some regards.
yeah,
But are you taking something from it
Yeah.
to get to
Yeah.
your ultimate goal? Do you have an ultimate purpose?
Yeah.
Do you have an ultimate goal that you're trying to get to? So that I think that's very interesting,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, yeah, I love it.
And with
Love it.
entrepreneurship, the importance of, like you said, it's a very tricky, it's a very tricky to navigate, because there's a point where you're trying different things,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But then there's a point where you have to lock in on who you are, what your identity is,
Hmm.
and you have to be okay with it. Number one,
That's the key.
you have to be okay with
Yeah.
it, and you
Yeah.
have to have some type of purpose outside of just making money.
Yeah.
Um, and once you start to establish that, then you also can establish the parameters of what you're doing,
Right.
because people will. The hardest thing for entrepreneurs is people that want to be entrepreneurs but aren't. They don't have the. They aren't brave enough to do it,
Yeah.
because they spill all of their ideas and what they would do with your business or with your creation onto you.
Wow.
And they put all of this in your lap,
Hmm.
and then you're dealt to deal with it.
Hmm.
And a lot of people don't have enough, they aren't grounded enough in what they're doing to be able to quickly dismiss things.
Yeah.
And so we toy around a lot with things that aren't necessarily for us, you
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to. One of the things that I'm very fortunate for is knowing who I am, knowing who I am as a business owner,
Yeah.
knowing what we want His Place Eatery to be and
Yeah.
what we don't want His Place Eatery to be,
Yeah.
because we get things thrown at us every single day.
Hmm.
People are sending us stuff. They're asking us for stuff that is what they want to do and what they would do with His Place Eatery.
Hmm.
I remember years ago, almost when we first opened, my first recollection of this, even before I could actually identify what it
Hmm.
was a person that was a church member where I went to church at, and they came to the restaurant, and quite honestly, I'd never spoken to these people before,
Yes.
ever.
Hmm.
I knew who they were because we would see each other, but outside of hi and bye, and hey, we
God
never
bless
had
you.
a conversation.
Right.
But they felt it. They felt enough of themselves to tell me what they thought I should do with my business.
Wow.
And my first thought was, "Oh, you must own a business."
Yeah.
"Oh, do you own a business?"
Hmm.
"No, I don't own a business." "Oh, have you owned the restaurant before?"
Right.
"No, I've never owned a restaurant." "Oh, okay. Well, thank you for your information."
Hmm.
What they wanted me to do is a buffet.
Yeah.
And that's a great idea for some people.
Hmm.
But for what my vision was, that's not what I wanted to do. And I remember that moment very, very precisely, because at that moment I realized that, again, people were going to give you everything that they dreamed about or everything that they think you should do out of your pocket,
Hmm. Out of your
out of your
pocket.
pocket.
Right. Right.
But very few people were going to want you to do that out of their pocket.
Facts.
And as an entrepreneur, it's very, very important that you realize that you're the one that is taking the chances. You have the liabilities,
Yes.
and along with that comes a lot of responsibility.
Hmm.
But also along with that, you have to stand on something,
Yeah.
because the old saying, it goes back to the old saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Right.
That's very, very true. And you see a lot of people go in and out of business, and you see a lot of people that have businesses, but again, they don't really have an identity as a business owner or who they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I just think that's
It's man, you made some great points. I actually love it. Um, so that part of people, they'll spill some things in your lap,
yeah,
and
you have to,
you have to go ahead and have to know, like, this is not a part of.
yeah,
I think some of that comes from not just knowing who you are, is having that mission statement in the
yeah,
business plan,
yeah,
having that vision statement saying,
yeah,
this is not a part of our business.
yeah, exactly.
It's a great idea,
It's a great idea.
but it's
It's just
not
not for me. It's
right.
not.
It's not for us.
It's not for what
Yeah.
I'm doing here. It might be
Right.
a great idea for something else
Right.
that I do, but it's not a great idea for here. And you know, when you own a restaurant, there's a lot of restaurant owners that want to be club owners.
Yeah.
So we get this all, but we literally, even at our first location, we've always gotten people that want us to do even parties or concerts or live
Mhm.
music and things like that. And at our very first location, when we very first opened, we tried it.
Yeah.
You know, we quickly realized that we're here to sell food.
That's it.
We're not here to sell music. We're not here to have people sit around for 4 hours and enjoy jazz as much as they might like to do that.
Right.
There's a restaurant for that. There's places for that. We're not it. And by knowing that, it helps us to quickly make those decisions when someone approaches us with that. And they may not like it because their vision of what we do they
Right.
is based on what their vision is and what
Mhm.
they would do if they sat in our seats. But they don't sit in our seats.
Absolutely.
And you just have to understand the seat that you're sitting in
Mhm.
because somebody is always willing to drive on your dime.
Right, right, right.
Always willing to
But
drive.
also, not only that, I think sometimes people want to cast vision,
Mhm.
want to be a part of the vision just to say, "Hey, I'm near these
Okay.
guys.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
get part of the credit because
yeah,
I gave them that.
yeah,
I gave them that idea,
yeah.
and they're taking off with it. So my name is attached to it.
Absolutely,
You know?
absolutely. And
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
inherently, people want to be a part of something that they deem successful.
yeah,
Regardless of how they connect to it, people want to connect to it, which is a good thing.
yeah.
It's a good thing. But also in that, just like with anything, you have to make sure that, you know, you're not trying to be everything to everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, so if you're a people pleaser, man, you really gonna have to get out of that part of the business when you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I was a
Yeah.
people pleaser in the beginning of the restaurant business.
Yeah.
I'm a Libra.
Uh-huh.
And so I always wanted everything had to be fair, everything had to be balanced, all of this. And that was my personality.
Yeah.
But you have to learn the limits of that because unfortunately, humans are humans and they're going to push you to the edge and
I
they're going to
say it
try
all
to
the time.
they're going to take advantage of the situation
Yeah.
intentionally or unintentionally.
Yeah.
you know I'm not here to judge intent.
Right.
That's not my lot in life to judge intent.
Hmm.
But intentionally or unintentionally, people will try to take advantage of situations.
Yeah.
You have to be disciplined enough to know and to grow to a point where you know what
I think you
I
just
need
said a
to
cuss
change.
word. You said growth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got to grow. Yeah, yeah.
You know, when you talk about growth, man, people don't like that part of medicine
No,
because
no
I mean there's accountability that takes place
accountability.
and
Yeah,
a self-evaluation that
yeah,
takes place.
yeah.
And when we're dealing on those terms, it's a lot of ugliness that's
Oh
there
yeah,
and we don't want to.
yeah. Accountability. That's an ugly word.
It's an
That's an ugly
ugly
word, and
word,
it's hard
man.
to swallow.
Yeah, growth,
You know.
maturity,
Yeah,
accountability.
yeah.
It calls for you to reflect,
Absolutely.
self-reflect, and say, "Hey, man, look,
You
I'm
know.
doing X, Y, Z. If it's out of order, I need to place it
Yeah.
back in order."
And
But
one of the one on that note, one of the advantages of being in business, like with my wife,
mhm.
is that that accountability is ugly sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
It's
yeah,
ugly some because you don't necessarily
yeah.
nobody wants to be held accountable unless they
Oh,
want to be held accountable. You want to be held accountable for the
that's
good
a
stuff.
that's a
For the good stuff.
that's a bar. Yeah.
But you don't want
That-
somebody to be like, you really didn't deal with that customer
right.
correctly.
Or you
I
drop
don't,
the
I
ball
don't
up
want to
there.
hear that. I don't
Right.
hear that.
I
But
wanna,
yeah,
yeah.
but and so it's good to have. It's always good to true friends and true people
Yeah.
in your life don't mind holding you accountable.
Right.
Don't mind, throwing a red flag down there
Right.
like, that's not. I'm not signing off on that.
Right.
I love you. We're good, but that's not right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's true friends. Unfortunately, most people think that somebody disagreeing with them
Hmm.
is a sign that somebody not being a friend or not being loyal.
Yeah.
People get loyalty mixed up. Loyalty is somebody that's willing to put their friendship on the line
Yes.
to make sure that you're good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's loyalty. That's more
That's
loyal than
loyalty.
somebody signing off on you doing something that they know you're wrong.
Right. Right.
That's not
Right. That's not
that's
loyalty.
not loyalty at
I
all.
think those type of people will allow you to just burn out
Yeah,
real
yeah,
easy.
yeah,
And once you get sick, they're like,
yeah.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Yeah.
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 No, that
Yeah.
that's not it at all.
Yeah.
So, which this is a good segue, and it leads me into asking you. They wanted me to ask you,
Okay. Okay.
where did the name come from? I know your employees was like, ask them about the name.
Yeah.
Where's the
Yeah.
name? Tell them
So
the story
his
about the name.
place actually refers to God's place.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So most people
Yeah.
think it's me.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not.
I'm
So
definitely eating here.
yeah. So his place eatery.
Yeah.
Um, we we in the beginning, what happened was we were, again, I worked in radio, and so we had opportunity to um, buy his place eatery.
Yeah.
It was originally um, the idea originally came from a ministry team that had, it was like a soup kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they had no restaurant, no food experience at all.
Yeah.
So didn't really do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
So we bought it. We had a laundry list of names that we were going to, we had 2 pages of names, the legal pages of names.
Yeah.
And his place just resonated with us. We never even looked to change it.
Yeah.
And it just made sense because our goal from the beginning was to minister through food. Now, I'm not a preacher. I'm not I don't claim to be, a minister or anything like that.
Yes, sir.
But we wanted to create an environment where not only the hospitality was forth and up front,
Yes.
but also in this business, sometimes there's a lot of, I tell people we try to humanize this industry, the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is we try to deal with people in a more in a human nature, as opposed to like some employee relationships where you're just a number.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know. Now, sometimes, again, and this is where what we talked about earlier comes in, where
Mm-hmm.
you have to have you have to have limits and boundaries, and you can't be everything to everybody,
Absolutely.
because you also, in that, you have to realize that there's still rules, there's still policies that have to be followed.
Yes.
But how you deal with people within those policies
Mm-hmm.
is very important, because you can be very cold about it,
Yeah.
or you can be very much a mentor approach to it, which is what we try to do.
Yeah.
And that means that, if you're late to work all the time,
Mm-hmm.
I always use this example. If you're late to work all the time, some companies literally, this is the attendance policy. You're late, we're going to let you go.
Right.
That's cool. That's part of the policy. That's part of what people sign up for. The way that I verbalize this idea of humanizing this industry is, if someone is late every time you schedule them for a 9:30 shift, and they're late, and they come in at 9:50
Yeah.
almost regularly.
Mm-hmm.
This industry can deal with that 2 ways. They can be like, "Oh, you're late every day. I don't have a place for you."
Yeah.
Or you can humanize that individual and say, "Hey, I noticed that when we schedule you at 9:30, you always get here around 9:50, 9:55.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on that you can't make it at 9:30?"
Right.
Because we still have policies, but obviously something is preventing you from getting here. So that person can say, "Well, I know the schedule says 9:30, but I have to drop my kid off, and the bus sometimes gets there at 9:35,
Yeah.
and I can't leave until my kid gets on the bus. It takes me 15 minutes to get here. So on those days, you know,
Right.
so how about we adjust your schedule so you can get here? Does 10 o'clock work better for you?"
Yeah.
So those are little bitty things
Yeah.
that's very, very minute. But
That's
as
ministry
opposed to
though.
just, "Oh, this person can't do it,"
Right.
it's having some type of dialogue with the person and understanding about who the person is, what
That's
they're going
ministry.
through, and how we can make this still work.
Yeah.
Now, if that same individual, we say 10 o'clock, and then that individual can't show up at 10 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
then that's a different conversation. And that's where you get into, like we talked about earlier, you got to do what you got to do because you still have a business to operate.
Right.
But that's a different conversation. But on the front end, our goal is to try to make things work out for people.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we're really big on when people work for our company, we want it to mean something when they put our name on their application or on their resume.
Yeah,
So we're really big on trying to make sure that people leave better than what they came.
that's awesome.
You know, whatever way that might be, whatever conversation we might have to have, we want you to leave better than you came.
That's how Jesus did it.
Yeah.
That's
So,
exactly how he did it. You know,
yeah.
anytime you came in contact with him, it was either you changed your life for saying, "Hey, I'm gonna follow you,"
Yeah,
and
exactly.
your life will never be the same.
Exactly.
Or if you walked away from him, your life will never be the same.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So,
Exactly.
yeah, man, I think this is a wonderful place. I think it's wonderful what you're doing. This is awesome. And now I wanted to get into start once you started, right? Entrepreneurship is not easy.
It's not easy. It's
And
not
like I
for the
said,
faint
I
of
know
heart.
you've cried many nights.
Not for the
You
faint of heart.
know, what was the thought when it was time for you to you graduated, you're getting started, you're out of catering. It's like, okay, I want to do this,
Right.
but there were some areas of question there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's two. So I want to address that portion, but
Mhm.
then later down the road, in the middle of it all, right? I know God brought you to a certain point,
Right.
but there's a place where you're there and you're like, well, Lord, this doesn't look like.
Doesn't look like what I thought it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to address the first point, then we'll come to
Yeah.
that second point.
So sometimes you're fortunate enough to be pushed into a situation.
Yeah.
So for instance, like I said, you know, we talked about kind of how how his place eatery started and all of that.
Yeah.
So when we first started, again, my wife and I, the very first thing we decided was, okay, we are only going to open on the weekends. We're only going to open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We both had full-time jobs, so we were half cocked as entrepreneurs at that point, as restaurant owners.
Mm-hmm.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're going to do it. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to grow it from there. So once we did that, we
I might have to stop you one second.
Okay.
We gotta pay some bills real quick.
All right. Okay.
All right, we'll be right back in a minute. We're gonna go to this quick commercial break.
Max power, I'm about to go, we doing better. If I ever lose, set it on faster than ever. If I ever lose, set it on, we doing better. Hitting all the goals I can. Bigger, bolder, faster. Ooh, I'm going to the maximum. I'm going to the maximum. I'm going to the maximum. I'm bigger, bolder, faster. Ooh, I'm going to the maximum.
Thank you for tuning in to Social Remedy TV, but I have a quick announcement to make. Check it out. As many may know, I'm a graphic designer, videographer, cinematographer, right, and filmmaker. So a lot of people have been calling me and actually been DMing me about what type of equipment are you using to get the look that you have. So what I decided to do is to give my Social Remedy TV community a link to be able to fill out the form and get the consultation and the help that you need. So please do not forget to fill out the link below, right, if you're interested, and set up your consultation now. All right, thank you for tuning in. God bless you. Have a good one. Peace. Okay, and folks, we're back. So we're back, and I know we were talking about, starting the entrepreneur piece once he got out of school, whatnot, and I do want to pick up where we left off.
Okay.
So go ahead.
All right. So again, starting out, again, we were only open on the weekends.
You and your wife,
Me
right?
and my wife, we're only working on weekends, and our goal was to grow it, and kind of see what happened.
Yeah.
So we did that for about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And funny, at the point that we decided, okay, we had enough of a reputation that it was time to open up more days. So it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we're like, okay, we're going to go Wednesday through Sunday.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, both of us were still working full-time jobs. So it was the conversation was, okay, who can we get, or who do we have that's here that can operate on Wednesday, Thursday, until we got off work and we could come and help. So literally,
God.
so what I always tell people, it's crazy, but like people say, but God.
Yeah.
So this is what happened. So the very first week that we did this,
Mhm.
we had this plan that the people that were there, we gave them instructions. I went there. I was going to go in the morning,
Yeah.
drop everything off, get everybody set up, going to go to work, get off work. At lunchtime, I was going to take a lunch break, check on them. That was the plan.
Yeah.
The very first week, I took a vacation. So I was there the first week that we did it. Okay. So the next week, you know, it was Wednesday. I went down, got them set up.
Yeah.
I went to work, uh, worked almost a full day, got fired at the end of the day. Got fired at the end of the day.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so I got fired, which again, I was working at the time for in radio,
Yeah.
and a good friend of mine, he was my boss. And so
Come here, Craig. Come here, Craig.
he knew what was going on, and I knew I was on thin. I knew that I had pushed this to the limit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But again, being scared, you
Yeah.
know, I wasn't jumping out on faith, so I can't say I jumped out on faith on that.
Right.
I literally was trying to
I
hold on
love that.
for dear
You know
life.
how many people
I know,
be like, oh, I jumped out on. No, you
I
didn't.
was holding on for dear life.
Right.
And so I went into work,
Oh,
worked
wow.
almost a full day, and he called me in the office at the end of the day and said,
James.
hey, James, you know,
Hey, put your head down.
I've had, you know, when you go in the office, you know, in corporate, where you go in the office, they got the box.
They got the box
they got
set
the
up.
box ready.
Yes, sir.
So I got the box, and
man.
he was like, man, you know, and I thanked him, and we're real cool to this day. I thanked
Yeah.
him because he did me a huge favor on a couple. He knew what I was doing,
Yeah.
and he tried to hold me in there as long as he could,
Yeah.
and tried to keep me to doing what I needed to do as long as I could. And then he got rid of me, which he had to.
Yeah.
And literally, I got fired. I got in the car. I called my wife, and I was like, hey, guess what? She's like, what? I said, I got fired.
I got fun.
She was like, oh, okay. Well, you headed to the restaurant? I was like, yeah. I was like, I'll talk to
It's
you later.
time to go to work.
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
And that's what the conversation was.
That's
and literally from that point on,
Yeah.
I've been doing it ever since then.
Wow, man.
It's
I know it's
crazy.
funny. I know it's funny to see
Yeah.
him walk through those doors,
Yeah.
come and sit down, and then eat the food that you
Yeah.
made.
And he would come even then, like he came
Yeah.
like a week later. Like, you know, I mean, but I think that sometimes you need that push. Sometimes
Yeah.
that, you know,
Absolutely.
you know, because everybody is not brave enough to jump out on faith.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
need that push.
I think, you know, all things work together for the good.
of those.
You know,
Yep.
yeah, to
Yeah.
them that are called according to his purpose.
Yes.
You know, this is a purpose.
Yeah.
This is a purpose thing.
Yeah.
And I definitely when I sat down, this is ministry mode now.
Yeah, yeah.
Too. This is what I was hearing, like, especially listening to your story, that God is not only just doing this for you, he's doing it for his name's sake.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and listening to that name of his place.
His place. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna make sure that this is
Yeah.
successful for my name's
Yeah.
sake.
Exactly.
It's my hand on this.
Yeah.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Long as you
Exactly.
stay in line, long
Yeah.
as you
Yeah.
follow what he's
Do what
saying.
you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hear that like
Yeah.
real strong, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is amazing.
Yeah, and that's what we
It's
try to do.
amazing.
It's like I said, I'm not a minister. I'm
Yeah.
not a preacher or a reverend. I just believe that there's a right way to go about doing things.
Right is right.
And you know, we don't beat people over the head with it being his place.
Come
We
on, my man.
have, you know, if you our approach to it is that if you know, you know, and if you're curious, you ask. You know what I'm saying? And we'll tell you.
So
You know what I'm saying?
I'm about to hit you with this. This is crazy. Like, so for ministry's sake, right? One of my things when we used to we go out and do outreach. I ain't gonna say used to because I still do.
Uh-huh.
We go out and do outreach and we go talk to people. A lot of time it's just conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about I need to let you know that you need to follow Christ,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
It's not just about that
Yeah.
because Christ didn't do that to us.
Nope. Yeah.
Right? He provided the way of salvation,
Mhm.
right? Before we even knew that we were supposed to love
We
him.
knew we needed it.
So he already
Yeah.
put the action in place.
Mhm.
So I think we should follow that same motto, or that model of when we approach people is show the love first.
Mhm. Yeah.
Show the love first,
Yeah.
you know, and do the action first.
Yep.
Provide the action
Yeah.
because I think that's the part where we talk about love. Jesus didn't ask us to love him 1st.
Mhm.
He didn't say that.
Yeah.
He provided.
Yeah.
And then with that, with that little bit of faith, because he gives every man a little measure of faith. With
Mhm.
that little bit of faith, he said, okay, before I ask you to give that to me,
Mhm.
I already died on the
Yeah.
cross for
Yeah.
you.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I really appreciate what you're doing.
No problem.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
man.
Thank you. That's
Yeah,
like I
yes,
said,
sir.
that's just our
Yes,
our
sir.
little slice of what we try to bring, and
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
So now
Yes.
we get to the middle part.
Mhm.
Now
Yeah.
you working.
Yeah. Yeah.
You making
Yeah.
it happen.
Yeah.
But you come to the road where it's, like I said, you get to that point where it's like, Lord,
Mm-hmm.
is this really
And
what
this
you
really,
call?
yeah, yeah. We've been
Like,
there a couple times. We've
yeah,
been there a
what's that
couple
like?
times. It's surreal
Yeah,
in some moments because we were there. We were there pretty early on first.
yeah,
Because you're pushing forward, and for us, the our very first location was in a plaza,
yeah.
and the people that own the plaza, some company in North Carolina or something,
Hmm.
they foreclosed on the plaza.
Oh wow.
And so, ironically, um, so nobody was taking care of the plaza at
Oh,
all.
you know about this stuff.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
so like our air conditioners, we had to buy our own air conditioners. Like literally, the water for the entire plaza was in my name because the water had gotten cut off,
Wow.
and so I got the water turned back on,
Uh-huh.
and all the people that were in the plaza would just pay me the water, and I would just
Wow.
because nobody was taking care of it. So
Yeah.
finally, it went into foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
And so we knew we had to find another location.
Yeah.
And so at that point, it was like, we didn't know what to do.
Right.
We didn't know what to do. And again, it's funny because, and sometimes I get chills because every time
Mm-hmm.
God showed up and he tells me or tells us to do something, and it's like the most obscure thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, that's why he told me to do that. So literally, I kid you not. We were at 37th and Shadeland, 3709 Shadeland,
Yeah.
in this little plaza.
Mm-hmm.
Plaza was beat up, run down. They were foreclosing on it.
Right.
So we were looking for another location in that area because, we were doing okay in that area.
Right.
And so at 30th and Shadeland, where we sit now,
Mm-hmm.
that was back in the day, it was a Waffle House turned to Sunrise Cafe.
Yeah.
Same family owned
Mhm.
it all that time, and they started renting it out to other people. So I had always liked that location, but it was always rented out.
Right.
And so I would drive up and down Shadeland
Mm-hmm.
and just look at places that we thought would be nice places for us to go. And so I was dead set on getting this place at 30th and Shadeland.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's what I wanted to do. So God put it in my heart I would just go by there. And anytime I left or came to the restaurant at
Yes,
37th and Shadeland, I would make it a point to go by there. And I would not just drive by on Shadeland.
Mm-hmm.
I would drive, go into the parking lot, drive around,
Wow.
and that was my routine.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, after doing that for a while, one day, see some people out there. I go talk to the people that were out there. It was the lady and her family owned the building, and she was showing the building to someone.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that she was showing the building to, they were interested in renting the building. And so, and they were connected to the person that was in there previously.
Mm-hmm.
So, I talked to her. They had first position. They were going to rent this building.
Yeah.
But the building, there was a lot of work that needed to be done in this building.
Mm-hmm.
And they thought that all the equipment in the building was the guy that had left the building. And so they thought they were going to take it all over.
Right.
And like I said, God works in mysterious ways. The building, the lady that her family owned the building, I told her I would go check on the building because it was abandoned at that point.
Yeah.
I said, hey, you probably need to go ahead and get an alarm on the building. She never would do it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone broke into the building and stole all the equipment out of the building.
Wow.
And so again, we were looking for some other place by now because these other people were going to rent it.
Hey.
So literally out of the blue, she calls me and says, hey, are you still interested? I'm like, yeah, but I thought you already had somebody.
Right.
Well, they didn't have any equipment. They needed all that equipment that was in the building.
Yeah.
So they, they can't rent it. And that's how we ended up. That's how we ended up there.
Hey man, this is
So,
amazing.
and then fast forward. So we rented it originally with the idea that we were going to do a contract on the property, contract to buy.
Right.
And because again, I was a real estate investor. My wife did real estate investing.
You understood it.
So from day one, it was we're doing a rent to buy. We're not just doing
right.
So we did that for a few years, and then we ended up buying the building just outright after a couple of years and owning the building.
And that's awesome.
So yeah, it was like again
awesome.
all of these series of events that were completely out of our control. That kind of lead us to where we are now.
And
so
this is and what's funny is you go into work one day.
yeah, that was
and your friend, what's his name?
Brian.
Brian. Shout out to Brian.
Yeah, Brian.
We appreciate you, Brian.
Yeah,
we
Brian.
definitely appreciate you.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have this good food if
yeah.
you didn't push my man out the door.
Yeah.
So what I'm laughing about is because like God, man, sometimes even in those moments where we're looking at it as, man, this is devastating.
It's devastating. Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
God already had.
He already had a plan. Yeah. He already had a plan.
The plan and it's planned all the way out. Yeah. And one thing that I noticed that you didn't complain.
No, I didn't complain. I literally laughed. My wife and I laughed in that conversation.
Right.
We didn't have a conversation about what are we gonna do.
Yeah.
I picked up the phone as I got in my car. I called her and said, "Guess what happened?" She was like, "What?" I said, "I got fired."
Wow.
She's like, "Oh, okay. You going to the restaurant?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll talk to you later."
From that to owning the building.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah. Like, so it's and
that's nice, man.
I think there's a place for venting.
Yeah,
maybe not complaining. There's because I mean we're human, we complain.
Right.
But in the end, it doesn't really get you much.
Yeah,
it's a nice release.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? To, emotionally to release and kind of get that all out. But after that, you got to pick up the pieces and you got to figure out, okay, what's next?
And I think knowing who you are, it allows you to be flexible too.
Oh yeah.
Because you're like, okay, I know I have this promise. I know who I am.
Yeah.
I know what he promised me.
Yeah.
So if there are changes that come in, in our vicinity, in our lives to where it's like, okay, I just have to pivot.
You got to pivot.
I'm okay with pivot.
You got to be okay with that.
Learn how to pivot real quick.
Learn how to pivot quickly. Yep.
Yeah. And so you pivoting, being able to navigate some of those things, especially through people that saying, "Hey, I'm with you," and then end up leaving.
Yeah.
Back and forth, whatnot. Now you're here. This beautiful restaurant, man.
Thank you.
And I noticed you said you wanted more of an upscale restaurant. At first.
Yeah.
But I think when I walked into this establishment, it has the upscale.
No. We don't. We're not pushing upscale. No.
This is what I'm saying.
Okay.
This is beautiful.
Thank you.
Aesthetically, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
And I think part of that came from that vision that you had earlier. And it may not be, grandiose as you wanted it.
Yeah.
This is legit.
So the upscale vision that I had then.
Yeah.
Is different than what we do now.
Okay.
The upscale vision that I had then was kind of based on the food and the aesthetic.
Yeah.
What we do is we take the genesis of the idea was to provide an upscale type of experience.
Yeah.
So we make sure that the hospitality is at the forefront of what we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because to me, and I always use this example with people. Most of us have had an experience where we go to a really nice restaurant, upscale restaurant, and we have the best service, and the food is unbelievable. And we're like, oh my God, that was worth every dime that I paid.
Right.
And most of us had the opposite experience where you go to an upscale restaurant, and the service is horrible. They treat you like they don't even want you there.
Absolutely.
And the food is still the same food. It's really good food.
Yeah.
But we feel like I'm not going back there. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because because the way you make people feel is more important than the food that you feed them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
energy that you give them is more important than the food that you feed them.
Absolutely.
Because the energy is transformative.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I need food to live, but the energy is transformative.
Yeah.
I can be motivated off the energy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When I leave here, I can be inspired off the energy.
Absolutely.
I'm not inspired by the food.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The food is sustenance. It feeds.
Right.
And it's really, really good. And I'm a chef, so I love good food.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But we are in the hospitality business. We want to
Yes.
make people feel good about what we do.
Yeah.
Because then when we bring the food to the table, guess what?
That's the icing.
The food is the icing on the cake.
Yeah,
and also, if the food isn't right, because we make you feel good about it, you're more likely to let us know that something is not right or something is not to your liking.
That's what you want to know.
Which is what we want to know.
Right. Those are things.
Because we can fix it while you're here.
Yeah.
As opposed to giving crappy customer service and then expecting people to be happy with the food.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely. So I definitely want to talk about the food, though.
Okay.
I definitely want to talk about the food. What is one of your signature meals here?
Oh man, you know what? We have a lot of. So
I'm talking about yours.
So his place eatery in itself, the idea is to take soul food and do chef inspired soul food.
Okay.
What that means to us is that, number one, we want to be consistent. We want our kitchen to be consistent. So every single time that you come, it's the same thing over and over. You know what to expect. You know what it's going to taste like because people love consistency. That's what they're coming back for.
Yes.
The other thing is we take some traditional soul food items and then we pour in there some untraditional spins on some items.
Listen to me. I'm telling y'all.
And we do that all through the menu. And that's what we enjoy about what we do is that my wife always says that the really cool thing about being in food is that two people can come and have the exact same meal and have two completely different experiences.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You could love something that we do, someone else could not like it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Because everything is not for everybody. But the idea of experiencing it is that's what we're in life for, to experience stuff. So with our creativity, we try to be creative with some things that we do, like the smoked meatloaf. We take a meatloaf, as opposed to baking it in the oven, we take it, we put pepper bacon over it, we smoke it in a smoker, and we serve that meatloaf with a like a sweet, almost like a barbecue sauce.
You
know, we do a lot of different types of waffles. One of the most popular waffles that we do is our red velvet waffle.
Yeah, we had that at the job. Not ago.
And then we also do a peach cobbler waffle.
I had that.
Now the peach cobbler waffle is a waffle with a scoop of peach cobbler with ice cream, whipped topping, and chicken.
What are you trying to do with that?
You know, chicken and waffles is the sweet, the spicy, the salty. We took that and we added some other elements to it. We added the hot and the cold.
Yeah.
It's excellent. It's actually a dish that my wife came up with that idea. I didn't come up with. I can't take credit for that. She came up with that.
Shout out to the wife.
Yeah. So we just do things like that. We do a brisket grilled cheese sandwich, a pulled pork grilled cheese. We do a smoked turkey grilled cheese. We even do a collard green grilled cheese.
Now that hands down, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I remember we had that, and I came to the back. I was like, man, this is grilled cheese, this collard green grilled cheese.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't, you know, that wouldn't be a normal thought to have.
No.
But it's great though.
That came about almost accidentally.
Yeah.
So that was I was just telling somebody this story today. So that actually came about. So our son plays football and he's an offensive lineman and always been a big guy and has most of the time struggled with his weight.
Yeah.
So he was playing in a bowl game. And so my wife, she had me watch a documentary on going meatless. And she's like, watch this documentary and send it to our son. So I watched the documentary. Yeah. And then I sent it to him. And I don't know if he even watched it, but I watched it and then I decided to go meatless. I was like, okay, I'm going to go meatless. So about 3 months, I went meatless. About 90%. I wasn't 100%, but about 90%. maybe 80%. Okay? If I tell the
Hey,
truth, maybe 80.
had a couple.
Maybe 75% if I'm really, but I tried the meatless thing. Okay.
Right,
And
right,
so,
right. I got you.
so during that time, I would come in the restaurant in the morning and I would make myself something to eat.
Mhm.
And one morning I was in a hurry. And so I took the collard greens and threw them on a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
And I always cut my sandwiches. I cut it, took a bite, and I was like, man, that's really good.
Yeah.
And so I cut it into some pieces and let people in the kitchen taste it. And for 2 to 3 weeks, every single morning, they would be like, "Hey, boss, you gonna make that sandwich?
Don't make it.
You gonna make that sandwich? Make another one?
Yeah,
Make another one?"
one.
And so I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "Really, man? Yeah." So finally,
Hey, man.
I let my wife taste it. She's like, "That's really good," and that's where it came
Yeah,
up.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's solid.
Yeah.
And see, I love the attention to detail that you put in your food.
Thank you,
You
thank you.
know, and like you said, food. When you talk about being a chef, it's
Yeah.
not just you cooking.
No,
This is the art.
it's art. Yeah,
This is a
yeah,
science,
yeah,
and you're
yeah,
attached to your
yeah,
food.
yeah, exactly.
And what I love about, like I said, your attention to detail is you protect your brand.
Yeah,
The Bible talks about your. I'm trying to think in Proverbs, trying to find the scripture, but I'm paraphrasing. It says, having a good name is
Mhm.
better than having riches.
yeah,
You know, and you having, paying attention to detail and protecting that brand is
yeah,
having a good name.
yeah.
It's taking care of that name and
Right,
saying,
right.
hey, this is how we serve.
Yeah,
This is the food that is
yeah,
attached to
yeah.
what we
Exactly,
do.
exactly.
I think that's more valuable than riches,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
And so how do you view it?
It's personal.
Yeah.
The food is personal.
Yeah.
Like you said, this is. I tell everybody our food. We are proud of our food. So people
Yeah.
come in and well, I'm coming to try you out. Oh, you better make sure it's good. I stand behind it.
Right.
This is the best that I could come up with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I stand behind every single thing that we do.
That's good.
And what's funny is that we talked earlier about accountability and how you don't like to be held accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife has this annoying gift
Uh-oh.
that she can taste something
Mm-hmm.
4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And if I make it again today, she'll be like, that's not the same. It had a little bit more of this. And literally, I will know that I didn't put something in it. Oh, well, I used this instead of this. Yeah, I knew something was different. It's annoying.
Wow.
In this business, it's annoying because it's holding it accountable.
Right.
It's
Making
the most
sure
annoying thing.
Yeah.
She's like, this is not right.
You ain't been sticking
This
to
is
the
not,
script.
this is not right. Something's not.
Yeah.
And food is very finicky.
Mm-hmm.
You can do the same thing that you've been doing, and something. Food is organic. It's grown. You know what I'm saying. It's not something that's put together in the lab. We're not cooking stuff that's put together in the lab that has the same molecules and everything every single time.
Absolutely.
The greens sometimes are thinner than what they are depending on the time of the year.
Mhm.
The yams sometimes are drier depending on the time of the year. You know what I'm saying? The fish sometimes it comes in, in a range of 3 to 5 ounces. Sometimes the whole case is 3 ounces. Sometimes the whole case is 5 ounces.
Wow.
And most of the times it's somewhere in between.
That's detailed.
It's an imperfect science.
Yeah.
So how do you take something that's an imperfect science and you standardize it so that it's the same every single time? And that's what we're passionate about. Finding that, how do you standardize this so that it's the same way every single time? And you don't have to be the person that's doing it. So you come up with processes, procedures. It's a lot of trial and error. So we know that if you get a grilled, you get a grilled pork chop,
Mhm.
that grilled pork chop is going to be down on the grill for 8 minutes. It's
Yeah.
going to be grilled 4 minutes on one side. It's going to be flipped over, grilled 4 minutes on another side, and it's ready.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But that comes from the process, learning the process.
Yeah.
Like how
You can't skip it.
yeah, and that means that you have to buy the same pork chop. You have to
Right.
order the same pork chop.
Right.
You have to be, like you said, be intentional about the process because
Yeah.
we can't use this size pork chop. It doesn't work.
How many of us struggle with the intentionality?
Yeah.
We want to skip part of the process, or we'll have so much success
Yeah,
and we say, okay, we just rest.
we
on
just
our
rest.
laurels.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
not going to do the same thing. We can get by because
Yeah.
our name now.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. I just think it's about for me, I'm fortunate, we all hear all of these stories and we hear Oprah Winfrey and people like that say all the time, you find something that you love to do and you don't work a day.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough to be able to live in that in that grace.
Yeah.
Although it's work and I get tired, and some days I don't want to do it, and some days I want to go on vacation and I need to escape that. It's
Right.
work.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but because this is what I love to do, then those things are not as tedious.
Yeah.
Now, there's some other things about the business that I hate to do, and it's not a part of my passion at all, but I have to do them. You know what I'm saying? So, there's those things too, but for the most part, the food part is the food and the science of the food and
That's dope.
I love the process of the food.
Man, look, God got his hand all over this place, man.
Thank you.
And what he's doing, man, because like I said, it would take a grace to keep that intentionality.
Yes, yeah.
Keep that discipline.
Absolutely.
To want it, like I said, to want to serve and to be doing it this many years.
Yeah, we've been doing it for a while.
You could have walked off.
Yeah.
I know there's been times where you said, you know what?
Yeah. That's it.
Babe, I think I'm
I'm
done.
Yeah. And there's times that she said, like, hey, what we gonna do? What we gonna do?
Hey, when they start talking like that, it shake your foundation a little bit. Yeah. And so we reached this point. I definitely, there's two things I want to do real quick. I know we play this game, which either or, right? So which one do you like? Which one do you like making more, macaroni and cheese or the greens?
Man, that's a tough question.
That's a very tough question.
I would say the greens.
All right.
I'd say the greens.
Okay, the greens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Greens. There's way more ingredients in the greens.
Yeah. You like to see when it come together?
It's they start from a completely different state than they finish. And if you in between, there's a lot of stages in between. And so you're looking for this stage at the end.
Yeah.
That is like, oh wow. Because the beginning is a macaroni. The cheese tastes like the cheese from the beginning to the end. The pasta gets cooked and it starts off as hard, then it gets soft.
Yeah.
But the greens, they start out, if you eat greens when they're raw, why would you ever do that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then if you taste them midway, it's like you can taste some potential.
Yeah.
But it's not quite there.
Absolutely.
And then it gets to the end and it's like,
absolutely,
man, that doesn't taste anything like,
some young people need to learn that. I see your potential.
But you're not right there. You're not good.
A little bit.
You're not good.
The other side of that. Okay. What about meatloaf or catfish?
Meatloaf.
Meatloaf.
And I hate meatloaf. I don't like meatloaf.
Oh wow.
To me, meatloaf is like one of the stupidest meals ever created. Meatloaf is a long way to go about cooking a hamburger.
Yeah.
It's a long way to go about. My wife loves meatloaf.
Yeah.
And the reason we have meatloaf on the menu today is because my wife loves meatloaf. So one day she wanted me to cook her meatloaf. And this is the best that I could come up with. And it's a smoked meatloaf because I love smoking meat. So I was like, if I have to eat meatloaf for dinner, then it has to be something that I like. And so I came up with this smoked meatloaf. That's what we serve today.
Sweet.
But outside of that, I love smoking meats.
But no meatloaf.
But I can smoke the meatloaf and make sure it's okay, make sure it tastes good, but I never had to eat meatloaf.
Okay.
But our people love that meatloaf. And meatloaf people love the meatloaf.
Yeah.
It's
not it.
3 hours to cook a burger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
it don't make sense to you. All right. So we're gonna move to music.
Okay.
Michael Jackson, Prince.
Man.
That's a rough one.
That's rough one right there.
I tell you, that's a rough one.
That's a rough one. Woo, me. Monday through Thursday, Michael Jackson.
He said on the weekend is Prince.
Friday, Saturday, Prince.
Okay, I can go with that.
Okay, all right, there you go. There you go.
All right. Let's see. Whitney or Mariah?
Oh, Whitney.
Oh, see,
Whitney,
you said that real quick.
Whitney.
Okay.
Mariah's highs.
Yeah.
But Whitney every day.
Whitney's every day.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's go acting. Acting. Samuel Jackson or Denzel?
I like Samuel.
The
grittiness.
I like his comedy.
Yeah, the grittiness.
Yeah.
It's the
I get with that.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Denzel fan.
Yeah.
But okay, so what about Rob De Niro or Al? My guy Al.
Man,
You want to play
I
rough?
know.
It's okay. I'm reloading.
Oh man,
What are you talking about?
I'm thinking Al, man.
Yeah, man. Man. That's a rough one.
That's rough one right
That's
there.
a rough
That's
one,
rough.
man.
That's rough because sometimes they're even interchangeable,
Yes.
but it's
Yeah, man. Yes.
All right.
Listen, the last one, it's an obvious one.
Okay.
I knew you got to choose right. I
Uh-huh.
hope you choose right. Don't
Okay.
choose wrong. Jesus Christ or the devil.
Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. Jesus all day. All right. All day, every day.
Listen,
All
man.
right.
It's my friend James Jones. And I definitely want you to stop past. I want you to come in and check out this food, check out the hospitality, give them a shout out, encourage them. Because like I said, everybody sometimes they're working, they're running, they're doing some things, but it feels good to know that people are watching and people appreciate what we're doing, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna let you go ahead and close out if you want to give a word of encouragement.
All right.
That's your camera, or that's
All
the
right,
camera
okay.
right there.
Man, a word of encouragement. Basically, have a plan, work your plan.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer, like I said earlier, in speaking things into existence.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, it's okay to take baby steps first.
Yeah.
You don't have to go from zero to quitting my job like I did. I got fired. You could take baby steps until it becomes obvious that this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right.
All right. Well, listen, it's been another episode. Love you guys. We're out. Peace.
Get